Hello. Can anyone hear me? One sec. I'll double check myself. Let me just take a quick glance view on watch page. One sec. I'll double check myself. Yep, going good. Don't know why the voice just came out of the computer rather than the headphones here, but at least it's recording it. So, how are you guys doing? Today, I thought I'd just point out a couple of things. First of all, if you guys hadn't spotted it yet, I've changed the banner for the channel. So take a look at it, let me know what you guys think. And besides that, I was trying to think to myself today, what could we talk about? Because, I always like to start off with a topic, talk about it for about a half hour, and then, I'll start answering questions. But I was kind of racking my brain. I was thinking, I don't know what to talk about. Last month was so good because of Lone Wolf and Cub. What should I talk about this month? And then yesterday, I got something in the mail. Something that's very exciting. And that is Lupin the Third Part 2, Collection 1, which is the first 40 episodes of the second season of Lupin the Third. And, I was absolutely pleased this bunch. And it just got me thinking about Lupin the Third, It got me thinking, there really isn't enough people who watch this franchise, at least in the West, who know of this franchise, etc., etc. And I just kind of wanted to talk a bit about it. So that's what I'm planning to talk about for the next half hour or so. I can already see that a couple of people have popped on in. Just quick reminder that I've redone the banner for the channel, for the YouTube channel. And I'd love to hear what you guys think of it. If you could just take a quick glance right now to see what you think and just respond back and let me know what you think. I'd really appreciate that. But anyway, I'll be talking about Lupin the Third. So let's start off with my experience of Lupin the Third. So what are my experiences of Lupin the Third? Well, let's start off with... Sorry, my dog's barking, so I just got a bit distracted there. My first experience with Lupin the Third was surprise. It was the Castle Cagliostro movie. So when I started getting into anime, I was start off primarily, not exclusively, but primarily going to Studio Ghibli. So watching the Ghibli movies, and considering that I loved them so much, most of the Ghibli films, of course, in particular the works of Hayao Miyazaki, I of course wanted to check out Hayao Miyazaki's directorial debut. And that would happen to be when I say directorial debut, I mean like his feature film directorial debut. That would be Lupin the Third and the Castle Cagliostro. And I remember watching it and really enjoying it, thinking it's a great film. But I didn't go back to Lupin for ages after that. I believe it was about a year later that I watched The Mystery of Mamo, which was the first Lupin feature film. And also a bit on the unusual side. Having come from Castle Cagliostro, moving into Mystery of Mamo, which is so much darker, has a lot more nudity, a lot more violence. It was a bit of a surprise to me, and I remember not enjoying Mystery of Mamo anywhere near as much as the Castle Cagliostro. That's probably a movie I need to get back to at some point. But anyway, so I watched that, got put off by it, and didn't come back to the Lupin franchise for ages. I was aware of it, of course, but I didn't come back to it until... It must have been The Woman Called Fujiko Mine. When did I get that? It must have been like 2015. I got The Woman Called Fujiko Mine, and I remember being blown away from the style of it. By that point, I'd watched Redline, and loved Redline, like the art and animation in particular. So I was very excited for Fujiko Mine, simply because Takeshi Koike, I believe that's the guy's name, was the art director. And of course, I'd seen some trailers. The art looked absolutely amazing and sumptuous. So I was just absolutely, looking forward to checking it out. And when I started watching it, I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed the characters. There was a lot of nudity, of course, but I mean, anything that focuses on Fujiko Mine will result in that. I really did end up enjoying it. And I remember after that, thinking to myself, God, I want to watch more Lupin. So I believe it wasn't long after that. It was either then that I discovered the first season of Lupin the Third, or that Discotheque had released it. I'll actually just double check it quick and see when the box set by Discotheque was released. But anyway, so I got that, and of course I absolutely thought that that was the best of all the Lupins I'd seen. I started watching it, and I remember the animation was a little on the awkward side, and that kind of put me off. But I did manage to get over it, and once I'd gotten over it, like, I absolutely madly fell in love with the characters by that point. Like, that was the kind of the point that I suddenly thought to myself, God, I really want to watch and experience this amazing world of Lupin. Hang on a sec. Is there some kind of connectivity issue? One sec. Let me just quickly... Is there any issue with this stream? Okay, I'll just ask that. I'll keep talking while I'm waiting. So, anyway, so I checked that out. Absolutely loved it. Tried showing it to some people. Some people were receptive. Some people weren't quite as receptive. But all in all, I was absolutely hankering for more Lupin. And that's when I've heard about the announcement that Discotheque were going to release the second series of Lupin the Third. And from there, I mean, it leads up to this point now, doesn't it? Like, it's I have this box in my hand. I don't know when the next box of Lupin the Third Part 2 will be coming out. But I've only just started watching this. I watched the first 2 episodes of Lupin the Third. And absolutely, like, I mean, not as good as the first season so far. But still really, really enjoyable. And I'm really happy to have gotten back to it. So, it actually occurs to me just there that I've spent all of my time talking about my personal experience with Lupin the Third. And by the way, I like, even though I can say that I'm a fan of Lupin the Third, considering the sheer amount of media that Lupin the Third franchise has produced, this is like, I have hardly seen anything of Lupin the Third. Literally 2 movies, Fujiko Mine, the first season, and literally 2 episodes now of season 2. So, very little experience of the franchise in general, I guess. But I do definitely look forward to trying to get more. So, let's start off with the premise. So, what is the premise of Lupin III? Lupin is a character based on, I don't know if you guys, there's a famous French novelist, Maurice Leblanc, and he wrote Arsène Lupin, I believe that was the character's name. And Monkey Punch, the creator of the manga with which all of the Lupin III franchise is based off of, was a fan of those novels. And he created the character of Lupin III. Now, there was a lot of copyright issues at the time, copyright issues that have since been sorted out. So there was no further problems with the Leblanc estate. But for a long time, there was an issue. Lupin is a thief, just like his grandfather, a master thief. And he has kind of gathered kind of a merry band of friends to help him with his schemes. You have Daisuke Jigen, who I've been thinking to myself recently, if there's a character that I'm gonna cosplay as, I'm thinking Daisuke Jigen might be one of the better ones to choose since he's bearded. And a real cool kind of gunslinger character. Brilliant shot with a pistol. Always smoking a cigar and, well, not a cigar, a cigarette. He kind of has his hat down. Goemon Ishikawa, who is a descendant of the famous, I believe, was he a thief or a bandit or something? There was a famous, legendary kind of Japanese character called Goemon. And Goemon Ishikawa, I believe the 13th or something from this series, is a descendant of his. There's a lot of descendants, I noticed, in this. So, and he's kind of like a very stoic samurai kind of character. Then you have Fujiko Mine, who is your femme fatale. You know, every one of these kind of series needs a femme fatale, and Fujiko Mine, you know, is the sexy, kind of attractive one who Lupin's kind of always going after, but she's always kind of betraying Lupin. And Zenigata's last character. Zenigata is a detective, although at this point he's become a member of what was it, Interpol? Is it? Yeah, he's transferred to Interpol in order to go after Lupin. And again, he's a descendant. I can't recall which character, but there's some famous character called Zenigata, who Zenigata is based off. Well, is a descendant of. So as you can tell, like 3 of the 5 main characters, as far as I can tell, are descendants from famous people. Probably without the proper rights. And particularly, the most famous example is the Lupin case. But so basically, it's very episodic. Most episodes are kind of standalone, and in fact, they highlighted in a commentary that I watched last night for the first episode of the 2nd season that how unusual it was. A character, a villain from the 1st season, returned as a villain, and they were saying in the commentary how unusual that is for Lupin III. You know, it's extremely rare when a villain will actually return, when there's any kind of continuity. So, so it is very episodic, but it's one of those it's really funny, it's really charming. There's a lot of style to it. At this point, as many people say, like it's got this very nice 70s style. This the first series of Lupin came out in 1971, I believe, and it was cancelled in 1972 due to low ratings, but became popular then in reruns. And so they made the 2nd season, which lasted for 3 years, from 77 to 1980. So not a very old anime per se, but you know, old, certainly old by modern standards. And I mean that's reflected in, like, for example, the clothing. You know, it's always pointed out that the characters are charmingly 70s, and oddly enough, the modern incarnations of Lupin III are retain those clothes, even though they kind of look out of place in the modern era now. So yeah, that's kind of a quick rundown on what Lupin III is, and I'm kind of surprised at the moment. We've been running for 12 minutes, and there's been no comments whatsoever in the live chat. No one talking, no one communicating, no one saying hi. I just dropped in. I'm surprised. I wonder, is Lupin III not interesting enough for this stream? I don't know. I feel like talking about Lupin III, so even if no one continues to talk, then I'll just keep talking. Although that will mean that if no one has any questions at the half-hour mark, I'll have to leave it at the 30-minute mark, which will be a bit of a failure of a live stream. But anyway, let me continue on for another at least 15 minutes on Lupin III. Okay, so what else do I have to say about Lupin III? One thing I want to point out is Discotheque's treatment of the Lupin III franchise. So, first of all, Discotheque is a company in America who distribute a lot of older anime, I would say. Yo, Elvis Kosovic, great to see you. They distribute a lot of older anime. There's some characters, not characters, some shows that they have that are a bit more modern. Sorry, you Elvis Kosovic. It's going round. What does that mean? Is the sound off? No. Thank God. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. You'll have to explain to me about it. But anyway, Discotheque, so they specialize primarily in like older anime series. So one sec. There seems to be an issue with the stream. What do you mean by going around? And I love the treatment. One sec, let me just quickly adjust the settings here. One sec. Ultra fast, recording quality, streaming, software, bitrate. I'm going to try reducing the audio bitrate a bit, and I'll reduce the video bitrate by a little bit. Let's see if that has any, if that makes it any better. So, okay. There seems to be some streaming issues, but we'll see how this continues on. So, anyway, so as I've been talking about Lupin the Third, for anyone who's just dropped in. In particular, because I got the newest box set of Lupin Third Part 2, Collection 1. I've been just kind of giving a quick rundown on, like the premise, the history, etc., etc. And I'm just about to kind of start explaining about Discotheque and like their kind of treatment of the Lupin Third box sets that I've gotten, because I believe it's in particular it's something that deserves particular attention. Basically, Discotheque, they specialize in older anime series. Lupin seems to be their kind of biggest franchise, although it still seems to be a relatively small franchise in comparison to so much other anime franchises in the West. I always love how they treat these box sets. So first of all, this has got a slipcover. Pretty nice slipcover, very reminiscent of the Cowboy Bebop box sets, which really isn't a surprise to me because Cowboy Bebop was so heavily influenced by Lupin the Third. Then you got this pretty nice cover for the actual DVD box set, although oddly enough, it looks relatively modern, the actual cover art. It looks like something that might have been created recently enough, so that does surprise me, but it looks like it uses digital techniques. So, very nice. There's 6 discs in this, and 40 episodes spread out. You got the Japanese, which is what I'm watching it. I can't really stand the English dub for Lupin. But if you want, they do have the English dub, and the English dub is available for all of the episodes that were dubbed. Not all of the series was dubbed, though, so if you want to watch the whole thing in dub form, you're going to be a bit disappointed. But if they do have the dub, it is presented here. But I personally just prefer the Japanese audio. You also got perhaps some Adult Swim promo collections. You guys might know that Lupin the Third Part 2 actually aired on Adult Swim at a certain point. I'm not sure how it performed on Adult Swim, but a lot of people became Lupin fans after catching it on television. But the 2 main things that I want to talk about is there have been audio commentaries created for selected episodes on this, and in comparison to, let's say, the audio commentaries produced by Funimation, which I always find kind of lacking. I mean, I watch them anyway, the Funimation audio commentaries, but it's always them kind of goofing about, not really talking too much about the show, just kind of mucking about. If they do talk about the show, it's generally just a little bit on the kind of English ADR, which it's by itself can be interesting, but apparently there isn't enough there to fill up 20 minutes. So I do find those a bit lackluster, whereas these audio commentaries, are actually done by huge Lupin fans. In fact, the second episode of this box has an audio commentary by Mike Toole. You guys might know him. He's a very well-respected man who works on Anime News Network. He's also works at Discotheque. Apparently, I didn't know that he actually works at Discotheque. And he gave an excellent audio commentary about the second episode, which was set in Brazil, and he was explaining the sports situations there, because there's kind of a heist going on during a sports game, and all of this really fascinating information. So really fantastic commentary. The first commentary, I can't remember the name of the person who gave the commentary, but he was explaining about the whole kind of history of the Lupin franchise, what was happening with the Lupin franchise at that point, how significant this series was to Lupin, how it would set up the rest of the Lupin franchise with kind of tropes and cliches and kind of like a formula for the stories. So some really fantastic information, and the liner notes are these huge collections of notes on each episode, explaining stuff like the vehicles and the guns used in them, who the key animators were, etc., etc. Huge amounts of information on the liner notes. Now, admittedly, the liner notes are something you kind of have to click through, which might be unappealing to some people. Some people might prefer to have seen it in like a video format, but still, it is crazy how good the extras are for this for these box sets. Like, I mean, I don't know how much more they could have put onto this. It's just crazy. Like, the extras are so good. Not terribly much, obviously, but like what is there is of a very high quality. So, really, really pleased with that. I'm hoping that the rest of the Lupin the Third Part 2 collections will contain extras as good as these. And I'm only 2 episodes in. It's also good. It's also good value. It's 40 minutes long. Not 40 minutes long. It's 40 episodes long. Yes. See you, Elvis. Thanks for popping in. It was good to talk to you anyway. So yeah, really, like I'm just really, really, really happy that I finally got my hands on this. Besides that, Discoteca released a lot of other Lupin the Third. Oh, actually, no. Before I even start talking about that, I should probably point out the Lupin the Third box set, this Lupin the Third box set, and the box set for the first season are work on Region 2 players, even though even though it says that it's Region 1, it actually works on Region 2 players. So if you're interested in Lupin the Third, but you have a Region 2 player only, you can't run Region 1 DVDs, it's no problem. You can just order this and watch it anyway. It is probably in NTSC though, so I guess if your television can't handle that, then that might be a problem. But I haven't really heard anyone mentioning that was a problem. So, let me just think now. What else was I going to say? So yeah, Discoteca released a bunch of other Lupin the Third stuff. Some Lupin the Third movies, some Lupin the Third specials. But I've been focusing primarily on the TV series, mainly because they're the most affordable. I mean, you get 40 episodes, as I said, on this, whereas I think you have to pay like £15, maybe more, for a simple movie or OVA, which is very expensive. So I've been primarily focusing on those. I've yet to see Lupin the Third Part 4, which was released recently. I believe it was available streaming-wise on Crunchyroll, for instance, on maybe Hulu as well. I'm not sure what other services Lupin the Third Part 4 was available on. But, one sec. But I've heard incredibly good things about it. I'm very excited that Anime Limited have announced that they have the license to the Lupin the Third Part 4, and they'll be releasing it on Blu-ray. The pricing does concern me a bit, so I'm hoping that there'll be some good extras on there to kind of justify the price. But beyond that, I am very excited about the upcoming Blu-ray releases of Lupin the Third Part 4. Besides that, I'm not entirely sure if there's anything else to talk about with Lupin the Third. My basic point is to give it a go. I personally recommend that maybe you start off with one of the movies. The only two I've seen, as I said before, was Castle Cagliostro and The Mystery of Mamo. Mystery of Mamo I had a bit of issues with, but that might just have been coming from Castle Cagliostro. So primarily I'd recommend that you get your hands on a copy of Castle Cagliostro if you haven't seen it. Give it a go, see what you think. If you're interested in more, then try like the original Lupin the Third series, the first season. It's pretty affordable. You get a lot of extras on it. It is a bit, the tone of it shifts quite a lot. Like the first half of the series is relatively dark in comparison to the light-hearted second half. The light-hearted second half being more reminiscent of the Castle of Cagliostro. But I believe it's still a fantastic season and well worth checking out. So yeah, that's my recommendation. And if you enjoy that, then there's no reason not to get part 2. So, even though it's only been about 25 minutes since I started this stream, I thought I might move on to Q&A now. Simply since that I think I'd just be trying to fill out the next 5 minutes with Lupin the Third stuff. I'd be stopping, I'd be stuttering, etc., etc. I don't really have too much more to say about Lupin the Third, in particular since no one's been asking any questions about the box or the franchise or anything. So let's start off with the Q&A, and once the Q&A kind of slows down, I'll call it quits. If it has to be a 25-minute stream, that's perfectly fine. I believe it's always better to be short and good than it is to be long and dragged out. I mean, my first stream that I ever did was 4 hours long, and I think it's very awkward to watch. So I just prefer to make these nice and short. People can actually pop in if they want. And oh yeah, the manga. Sorry, I'll talk about the manga a bit in a sec. But yeah, like having shorter lengths, like an hour max, it makes these a lot more easier for people to be able to go back to. Yeah, the manga. I haven't read the manga. I know Tokyo Pop released some of the manga, but unfortunately, I was never able to get my hands on it. I've heard the manga is a lot darker than the TV show. At least the first manga is. I know Monkey Punch ended up doing a second kind of series of Lupin around the time of this part 2. But the first part of the manga is apparently really dark. There's a lot of murder. There's an implication that a lot of the women Lupin's with, it isn't consensual. And there's no, like, for a good while, there's no definitive character called Fujiko Mine. There's a lot of women called Fujiko Mine, but that's only because Monkey Punch couldn't think of a good pun beyond the name Fujiko Mine. So Lupin just ended up running into women called Fujiko Mine all the time. Yeah, I'd love to read the manga at some point. I hear there's a lot of Lupin fans who they read the manga and they're really put off because it's so different to the actual anime incarnations of it. But as a fan of Lupin, I still want to check it out at some point. It's just a case of being able to track down volumes. Even then, I don't believe Tokyo Pop ever actually completely released the manga of Lupin III. I'll just double check that quick. But so that is a bit off-putting. If something hasn't been completely released in English, it's a bit it's a bit hard for me to actually start tracking down volumes. I'm just checking it here. Got 60s. I'm just seeing now here. Tokyo Pop release. The Tokyo Pop release went up to 14. So wait a second. Oh, so the first series of Lupin III was completely released in English. That's interesting. And what about the second series of Lupin? 17 volumes were planned. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, but I guess the first series of Lupin would be the primary one. Okay, so it is actually released in English, the whole first lot of Lupin. So I'll have to just take a quick glance at eBay. Okay, that is interesting. So basically, my basic point about the manga is I haven't read it. I haven't experienced it. I've heard a lot about it, but I haven't actually read it. So I do want to read it at some point. I'm going to look up Lupin III right now on eBay. Maybe I can find a good deal on it. But yeah, hopefully that answers your questions. If you have any other questions on the manga, you can just ask that. Now, while I'm just quickly taking a look at eBay, you guys can ask any questions you want. If there's no further questions, then I will, finish up the stream. Let me see. Lupin the Third manga. Most Wanted. That's the second series of Lupin. Oh boy! I just found there's someone selling volumes 1 to 12 of Lupin the Third, and if I were to buy it, it would come up to like 250 euro about for 12 volumes. Like that's pretty expensive. So yeah, I'm not going to be buying that. I'm just going to run through here and just kind of see if there's any other cheaper volumes of it. You got volume 6 alone is really expensive. Yeah, these are really expensive. So yeah, unless I find it for cheap, I'm not going to be getting those. Oh, 1 second. It says my video output is low. Is there any issues with the stream? Like, is it going choppy? Is my voice fine? Are there any issues? This is not receiving enough video. I do want to point out that my internet is pretty crap, particularly in terms of upload speed. So that's why you're seeing this kind of garbage when it comes to live streams. Hopefully within the next year I'll be getting much better broadband, and in that event I'll be able to do far better streams, far more stable streams. When you say Showa, Fuji, do you mean... You're talking about the new Showa thing, right? Not Showa as in from Shigeru Mizuki. You're talking about Showa as in that anime series. What is it again? Is it Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju? If that's the one you're talking about, right? Descending Stories? No, I haven't read that yet. I haven't actually gotten much manga recently. I'm still trying to catch up on the manga that I have. Right now, I'm in the process of reading Attack on Titan, and I've just started Planetes last night. I've read the first chapter of Planetes. Oh, Shigeru Mizuki. No, I haven't read that yet. I do intend to get around to that at some point, but as you probably know, the 4 books are pretty mammoth, even by themselves. So, like, combining them all together, absolutely gigantic. Like, I'll need to kind of set aside a certain amount of time for those. And unfortunately, at the moment, I primarily want to focus on, kind of getting through some of the other backlog first. And once I've kind of gotten a lot of the other backlog sorted, then I'll move on to those kind of meaty Shigeru Mizuki books. But yeah, those. So that's kind of my plan to do with Showa. I'm excited about it. Don't get me wrong, but I do kind of want to make progress just before I get to them. So yeah, I haven't read them yet, but I do intend to read them very soon. Well, not very soon. When I get the chance. When I get around to it. Sure are. So there's 4 people watching. Fuji's pretty much the only guy talking at the moment. Not sure how sustainable that is for this current stream. I believe, is it a little... I think the last stream got about 10 people watching. Maybe just a bad day for a stream. I have no idea. But if that's the case, I'll probably be cutting this off in a couple of minutes then. I'm going to give Fuji a bit more of a chance to, ask a couple of more follow-up questions. But then after that, I think I'll call it quits relatively early. There's a few other tasks that I've got to do. So, for instance, actually, this is something I can quickly talk about. I watched the first live-action Lady Snowblood yesterday. Lady Snowblood? It was a manga created by Kazuo Koike, who is the creator of, Lone Wolf and Cub, of Crying Freeman, of Samurai Executioner, etc., etc. He did a manga called Lady Snowblood, and they were adapted into 2 films. A link. Okay. Not sure what link you're talking about there, Fuji. Let me just check let me just check the settings. I have automatically blocked spam messages unticked, so it's not to do with spam. Let me just check if there's any other settings. Pop out chat, participants, toggle timestamps, manage moderators. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to sort out the link. Just tell me what you were going to send me a link. Send a link to, and I can look it up by myself at a certain point. But anyway, yeah, so I watched the first Lady Snowblood movie yesterday. Very enjoyable. It was very over the top. That is something to say about it. And some people might annoy some people. How utterly over the top it is. Everything's like very melodramatic. Like when characters are cut, like a huge fountain of blood like spurts out. Like it's like really insanely over the top. But, I can get behind those kind of movies. Publisher Landmark Books has published a book by Yoshi Tatsumi. Oh, really interesting. I have to take a look at that quick. But yeah, so really enjoyed. Well, I enjoyed the first movie. I guess I shouldn't say that I really enjoyed it because As entertaining as the movie was, it was very over the top, and it's by no means gonna become like a classic in my kind of view of the word. But like as a very entertaining film, it is. Yes, it's very entertaining. So found it quite enjoyable, and I'll be checking out the second film today. Hopefully. Just checking this now. Is this one? Is it Midnight Fisherman? Is that the one you're talking about? It's just a collect. Is it a collection of short stories? Let me just quickly read the. This collection of Gekiga of the 1970s. Okay, so are they all stories by Yoshihiro Tatsumi during like the 1970s? All short stories. I believe that's the one. Midnight Fisher. Yeah, that's the one. Midnight Fisherman. So yeah, I'll quickly just check out the book depository, see how much it's going for on there. It seems to be a relatively short book. It's about 200 pages. So let me just take a quick glance. Midnight Fisherman. There it is, by Yoshihiro Tatsumi. €11. That's not bad. I'm obviously a bit on the premium side, a bit more expensive than your typical 200-page manga, but I mean, to be getting Gekiga from the 1970s, that would be pretty much a premium. So I'll just actually quickly add that to my wish list. So yeah, very interesting there. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so yeah, I intend to check out the second film of that, and then as I said, I'm catching up on Attack on Titan. Hoping to read the. I'm hoping to read the 20th volume today. I believe that's the last of the volumes of Attack on Titan that I have to read. I think volume 21 came out recently, and I saw the cover to volume 22 recently enough, and I believe that's a bit of a spoiler, but. I mean, it's not a crazy spoiler. It's just, a little minor one. So, interesting enough. Besides that, what else am I going to be doing today? Not much, just kind of focusing on other tasks. So, just trying to log in and add Midnight Fisherman. For some reason, it isn't allowing me to actually log in. Might be because it has redirected me too many times. Okay, I'm going to have to probably use a different computer for opening that up, but it's called Midnight Fisherman. I'll remember that. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to call the stream here. Relatively short stream this time, but low turnout. So what can you do? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this anyway. If you guys didn't catch the beginning of the stream, I'd recommend just going back, just taking a look. And, all that. I definitely was in a much better form to do a live stream today. Last month, I noticed that I was hesitating a lot. I think it was just lack of sleep at that point, but I'm well rested by this point. So I was able to talk a lot more fluidly, a lot more cleanly today. And hopefully you guys found this interesting. Furthermore, I'd like to, if you guys have any further recommendations about, the banner, just send me your thoughts through Twitter, just, at Immortallium _, and just let me know what you think of the new banner. Took me 2 days to make that, and not straight, it didn't take me 2 days straight. I just working on it for 2 days, and besides that, I hope to release more content this month. Hopefully, I'm trying to work on something now which might be entertaining for you guys. So I don't want to put out too much information about it in case it doesn't go true. But I'm just hoping to work with someone to be able to make a kind of a new series of videos. So hopefully you guys will end up finding that entertaining. And yeah. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and bye-bye.